Okay, so if you're doing this lesson, hopefully you have gone through 3.2 and 3.3 where we talked about slope-intercept form and point-slope form. There actually is one other form for writing equations, and that is standard form. And standard form is basically, it looks like this: ax plus by equals c. So as you notice, standard form, right, that means the variables are on one side, and then we have a constant on the right side. The reason why sometimes we use standard form, it's very easy to find the x-intercept and the y-intercept, okay? So as a review, let's just quickly review what the x-intercept is. The x-intercept is where the graph crosses the x-axis. And basically, with the x-intercept, y is always equal to 0, right? So the point will be like 3, 0, 10, 0, negative 10, 0, right? But if we look at a graph, and here is my line, this is the y-intercept, so it's always going to be x comma 0, right? Because the y is always going to be 0. On the other hand, the y-intercept, this is where the graph crosses the y-axis. Okay, and so if I draw a little graph, right, wow, that was not straight, but this is my y-intercept. And so it's always going to be 0 comma y, right? So x is always equal to 0 when we find the y-intercept. So knowing this information, if we're given an equation, we can find the x-intercept and the y-intercept really easily. So for example, let's say we have negative 2x plus 3y equals 12. So let's say we're trying to find the x-intercept. So this is when y equals 0. So I know that in the x-intercept, y is always going to be 0, which means I can plug in 0 for y. So I can plug in 0, and this will just become 0, which I don't really need. Hopefully you start seeing some shortcuts. And so x is going to be negative 6. So the x-intercept is negative 6. Whoops, that's the x-intercept. Or you could write it as a point as negative 6 comma 0, right? Because the y is always 0. If we wanted to find the y-intercept, I'm going to do this with the shortcut. So this is when x equals 0. So again, I'm going to plug in 0 for x. I don't know what y is. That's what I'm trying to find. So this goes away, right? Because 0 times anything is 0. 0 plus something is always the something. So I'm just left with 3y equals 12 and y equals 4. So this right here is my y-intercept, and I know the y-intercept is going to be 0 comma 4, right? So with the standard form, it's really, really easy to then find the x-intercept and the y-intercept, right? And now, if we were given a graph, like let's say I have a graph here. Let's say this was negative 6 and this was 4. I know that my x-intercept here and my y-intercept is here, so I know my line is going to look like this, right? So it's actually really easy then to graph lines because you're given 2 points. Okay, so that's standard form. Let's say we wanted to put this equation, negative 2x plus 3y equals 12. Let's say we want to make it look like y equals mx plus b, point slope form. Or no, not point slope, slope intercept form. So your goal is to get this y by itself, right? So we're going to get rid of this 2x. So I'm going to add 2x on both sides. So I'm going to have 3y equals 2x plus 12, right? Because I want the x first, And then I'm going to divide everything by 3. So 2/3 x plus 4. Okay, so that's how you can change it into slope-intercept form. Okay? The last topic that is on this thing is called undefined lines and slopes of 0. Okay, so let's say you are being asked to graph the function y equals 10. So if I have a graph, right, and let's say 10 is here. So when y equals 10, that means we're at this point, and it's basically saying, hey, at any x value, the y has to be 10. So it's actually going to give me a horizontal line, right? And so this is y equals 10, because if you notice, no matter what point on the graph you have, the y value is always 10, right? So this is going to be a horizontal line, and the slope is 0, right? Because technically I could write this as y equals 0x plus 10, but I don't need that 0x, right? So this just becomes y equals 10. On the other hand, sometimes you're going to be asked to graph something like x equals 7, right? So again, if I have a graph, now I'm looking at the x-axis, right, because it's x equals, and let's say this is 7. I want to draw a line so that at any point, the x value is 7, right? So here, the x value is 7. Here, the x value is 7. The y's are changing, but the x's are not, right? So this is a graph of x equals 7. If you notice, this is not a function, right? Because if you draw the vertical line test, it doesn't pass, right? So this is actually has an undefined slope, which is why instead of y equals, you have x equals 7. Okay, and so whenever you have x equals, it's always going to be a vertical line. Okay, so at this point, you should be able to try all the extensions. So remember, undefined slopes means it's a vertical line, and it's always going to be x equals something, whatever the x value is, versus horizontal lines are always y equals something. Okay? Let us know if you have any questions.